Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Spring 2025 New Jersey Film Festival uh, Q&A series. I really want to call this a panel because we have four wonderful filmmakers here to talk about their really exceptional short films that we will be screening on Saturday, February 1st. Our festival is a hybrid. It's been around for 43 years, but for the last 5 years, we've been a hybrid festival as a result of the pandemic. And once the pandemic started to die down, we thought, well, we don't want to lose all those wonderful people in Oklahoma and in England and Germany who have participated in our festival when it was available online. So we've kept the online component. So the films will be available. These films will be available for 24 hours starting at midnight Eastern Standard Time on the 1st of February and will run until the end of the day at midnight of the next day. But there will be an in-person screening at 7 p.m. in our state-of-the-art facility, which is basically a large lecture hall that was converted to cinema, to be friendly to cinema. And that is Voorhees Hall, room 105. It's located at 71 Hamilton Street in New Brunswick, New Jersey. We're a block away from the New Brunswick train station. So, Hannah, if you do come, you can just take the train and just walk over. It's really very convenient. We're about an hour by train and about an hour by car, too, from New York City. I need to introduce these wonderful people. We have four filmmakers that will be part of Shorts Program 2. That's what's taking place at 7 p.m. on February 1st. And we have Sylvia, the director of Sylvia, Hannah Zipperman here. She directed this film with Ezekiel Goodman. They're Jersey folks now. I talked to Hannah on the phone, and I guess she recently came back to New Jersey. Is that it? Or migrated to New Jersey? All right. So we have Sylvia director Hannah Zipperman here. We have Hedvig Andersson from London, England. Her film is Help Yourself, and she's beaming from across the pond. And Joy Waldinger, she's from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with her husband and baby. They're part of the film Embryo, which we'll be talking about. And the last film we'll be talking about is Crowboy. And William Doan is the producer, writer, and he's going to be talking about his terrific animation. So welcome, everybody. Welcome. You can leave your mics on, and that way you can jump in anytime. Hello. So I guess I asked the most mundane and silly question that you can always ask on these things, but it's important for our audience to know a little bit about what your films are focusing on. I could do that, but I'd rather you do it so I don't mess it up. So why don't we start with Joy, since you're closest to me in the Hollywood squares here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Embryo?
Hey everybody. So we are here from my short film Embryo, which is about the journey that Fern took to get to us. We had Fern through a surrogate, and throughout the process, we documented the whole journey. Embryo is actually the second in a series called Trilogy. The first was called Ovule, which documented the specific IVF journey that I went on. And then Embryo was kind of the process from tiny little embryo to almost birth of Fern. And then the last one was neonate, which was her first 2 weeks of life. So it was definitely a passion project that we were excited to see come together. And this is baby Fern and my husband Caleb. And we're excited to be a part of the show.
Wonderful. I love your film, and you absolutely have to send us the new one too. We can talk about that afterward. And yes, don't leave after we say goodbye to our audience so I can talk to you guys a little bit further afterward. Uh, uh, Bill, can I call you Bill? Or
Sure,
Will?
please,
All
Bill.
right, Bill, tell us about Crowboy.
Well, Crowboy is a short animated film that actually came from a project I've been working on for about 10 years. It's
Wow.
called the Anxiety Project.
Hmm.
I'm someone who lives with anxiety and depression, and have had quite a journey through therapy, medication. Came to find drawing. I've always been a visual artist and a performance artist, but came to find drawing as a critical tool in managing my own mental well-being. So I started a series of drawings called Crowboy. I had no idea where they were going or why I was doing them. I just had this idea that this little boy who wished he could fly, which is, a mythic story we can all relate to, I think, a little person who wishes they could fly, made me feel good to do those drawings. And eventually the idea for the story came about. And the team I work with, Alexander and Cindy White, a brother and sister team. Alexander's the animator, Cindy's our director. Um, Started to help me develop from literally a couple of thousand drawings, the idea for a story that we pulled out, and then came Crowboy. And I'll just say quickly that we just finished finally the animation. So there's a new version of it coming because with the version you saw, it was unfinished because I had some family crises that kept me from getting the drawings done. And now they've all been done. And so I think what we were able to finish really polishes off the film beautifully. So
Well, wonderful. Make sure you send us the new one.
absolutely.
So we have that one.
Absolutely.
We've
Yeah,
uploaded everything to Eventive. Eventive is our streaming provider. And so I can swap them out, no problem.
great. I'll get it to you within the week.
Wonderful, wonderful. Hedvig, tell us about your film. You're the star of the film, you're the director of the film. So tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
it.
The story just came about. I had this location that I wanted to use. I had a limited amount of time. It was actually my home, and I was, selling it. So that was the beginning of it. And then this story came to me. I wanted to tell the story about a woman in this, location. I was not going to use any other location, and I didn't want to show any of the other actors. And then you sort of like dig deeper as you write the story, because for me at least, I start with the structure and the sort of like the images, and then I sort of like got deeper who this woman is and the story about the parent-child story. That's actually the core of the story. And yeah.
Well,
But
that's why I thought that your film did kind of sync up with the other two that we've talked about, because that child element is there too. And I even think with Sylvia, there's an element there, although it's not a child, but it's an animal or a pet. So I thought that that would make a nice team. But I'm sorry, I did not mean to cut you off. Please.
no, I mean, I could go on for, like stop me.
That's okay, no problem. It's wonderful to meet you. We loved your film, and our all these films. Before I let Hannah talk about hers, were judged by at least five individuals. They are either my film festival interns who are cinema studies majors or filmmaking students, as well as former winners. So if you'd like to be part of this process in the future, you're always welcome, but it's a lot of work. And usually filmmakers say, no, I don't want to do it because it's so much. You have to watch hundreds of films. Most of them are shorts like yours, but and then there's people who are members of the press and other academics that make up our jury. And all of your films scored averages of 7 or above, which is usually the criteria because films are ranked and they're giving a number from 0 to 10, with 10 being terrific and 0 being terrible. And then they're, comments, and they're broken down respectively by category. So you guys were picked 44 films out of 677 films, I think, something like that. So you're the creme de la creme. But go ahead, Hannah. I'm sorry to stop the ball rolling.
No, so Sylvia came about during the pandemic. I have someone who I sometimes write with, my friend Kathy, who is also a genius comic, the drawing kind, although she's very funny. And we were just thinking, what can we make in one space with not that many people? And we both have pets who we love and who in hard times were kind of everything. So we just wrote this story about a woman who always wanted a pet. And when we first sent it out for notes, like people were essentially like, I love this sketch. And we were like,
Hmm.
like I get that it's absurd, but it's not a sketch. And then we filmed it. And honestly, I didn't like it. So we did it all again. And the last little coda with the dog on my shoulders
Mhm.
is from the first iteration. So
Oh,
there's like a full year between the first filming and when I did it again with a much larger budget is how we did it.
cool.
So, and
Very
I
cool.
co-directed it with my friend Zeke Goodman. Got a lot of collaborators in there,
Well, film is all about collaboration, and I think you guys can all attest to that. And I think with Embryo, it's a collaboration amongst the family. It's about wanting to have a family. I mean, Embryo is an animation. There's all sorts of really wonderful notebook writing and references to different fruits and vegetables to emphasize the size of the embryo as they move forward. I love the strategic placing of the fern behind you as well. I think that shows that you guys are filmmakers. I always tell my students, everything in the frame is there for a reason in a good film, and you want to make sure that your audience sees it. And there's a lot of repetition in Embryo. Embryo is a film that kind of revisits the same location, which also strategically is Fern Street, which, emphasizes this upcoming child. So my first question to you guys, Joy and Caleb and Fern, if you can talk, Fern, you can answer as well. Please tell us about any difficulties you had making the film. I mean, it looks like you had to travel the same route and you had to go through the motions as this child was, and I didn't know that it was via surrogate. I think that was something I must have missed in the narrative. I don't know. Do you guys spell that out also? Was I a bad viewer?
I think it might be more in the description. But yeah, it was, kind of going by Fern Street every morning on our way to work. We kind of realized, like, oh, we're passing Fern Street. Like, this is like every day it was kind of a way for us to connect with her,
Hmm.
even though she was very far away, like 3 hours away in Lewisburg, and we live in Philly.
Right.
So that was kind of a really serendipitous moment. That kind of like we kept filming little snippets each week as she grew bigger and bigger.
Hmm.
And I mean, it was really a wild journey. I mean, initially, first 2 weeks after the transfer, we did think we lost her because
Wow.
our surrogate ended up having to go to the ER. And it was this kind of radical hope that we had to kind of continue to cheer on, because it was a scary time. And you never know with documenting a process like this what the outcome is going to be.
Hmm.
So I think, our commitment to documenting it and having radical hope and, in hopes of sharing it with other people who are going through the same thing was kind of what kept us going for a project like that. And it was definitely a very personal project, right? It's very vulnerable. Vern is playing with this.
That's okay. She's already going to be a star. This is her first appearance, maybe.
Yeah, she's a rock star. She's an
All
awesome
right.
little girl.
Yes.
We just celebrated her half birthday. She's 6 months old, which is it's wild how quick it goes.
Yeah, definitely goes well.
It goes so fast, and she's just been so great along the journey. And yeah, I think like specifically with collaborating with another person to create a baby, and like having that to navigate. And our surrogate was amazing. We were so blessed to find her. Her Fern's full name is Fern Rose, and the person who connected us with our surrogate ended up opening a surrogacy agency called Rose Surrogacy, and she was born in June, which Rose is the birth flower for. So definitely kind of like along the journey documenting things to kind of hold on to, and to then show her when she gets older too, like having that kind of keepsake of that journey. So definitely as my, as an artist, my work really explores, documentation, archival footage, kind of that real, authentic kind of life experience.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed all the wonderful elements to your film, and the found footage included, the shots of the embryo in development, and then the photographs of the baby in the belly. All these things really add to the wonderful aspect of your film, and the music is really terrific too. It gives it a very warm feeling and very hopeful feeling, which is during these times I think is really, really crucial. Wonderful. So Crowboy is something that are you Crowboy in this film, William? Do you see yourself in this film? I mean, it's a dumb question. I'm a filmmaker
No,
too.
it's
I
not.
infuse myself in all my work. I mean, I know for sure Hedvig is in
Yeah,
her film. I mean, she's literally in the film too.
yeah,
We infuse ourselves in our work.
yeah.
Same thing with Hannah. But tell us, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly was Crowboy. I mean, I was sort of a very lonely child. And, I'm 65 years old. I just retired from Penn State. So, in my childhood, if you had a mental health issue, it was go to church, go to the priest, go to confession. I grew up in an Irish Italian Catholic family. There was no messing around with it. And so I never made the connection to this kind of extreme loneliness and depression until much, much later in my life when I suffered some significant depressive episodes. And this is actually the third short animation we've made from my anxiety project, and the other two were considerably darker.
Mm,
And so I asked myself, what was the flip side of this loneliness? Because I'm still here. I'm
mm,
65. I've been married for 40 some years. I have two incredible grandchildren. I had a good career. So there obviously had to have been a flip side of this because I've had a lot of good in my life. And so I started thinking about what did loneliness give me growing up? It forced me to either recede deeper and deeper away from the world or find the strength to engage with the world and find ways to connect and to feel connected so that when those battles with anxiety and depression became strong, I could rely on that feeling of connection to help pull me through. So, most definitely, Crowboy. And, the whole flying thing, I think, is what I've gotten from the arts. You know, frankly, it sounds maybe a little trite, but
no.
becoming an artist and, both as an actor and a director and a visual artist, and then 10 years of making solo performance pieces that I toured with allowed me to soar in certain ways that I never imagined I could
Mm,
earlier, or that people would care about those stories, connecting to other people who, whether their challenge with mental illness is temporary
mm,
as a result of the current circumstances of their life, or whether it's a diagnosable disorder. The way people have connected to the work always takes me by surprise.
mm.
So yeah, Crowboy is definitely me, and I hope that the positive side of Crowboy is kind of where I'm at this stage in my life more than anything. Yeah.
It's a wonderful film, and I mean, I love the interaction with the animals. Crowboy is about a interaction with a crow who loses a feather, and Crowboy tries to return the feather to the crow and makes his way through the forest and meets a fox, a rabbit, and a bear, and they become friends. And I really think of this film almost like one of the Fables de La Fontaine, one of La Fontaine's fables, and I really, really love it. So thank you
It's
so much for
interesting
sharing
too.
it with us.
Yeah, it was the first time I'd ever worked solely in charcoal as a visual artist. All the drawing, it's hand drawn animation,
Yeah, yeah.
and all the drawings are charcoal, and it's an unforgiving medium. I discovered, and lots of times I thought, well, I can fix that. Nope, tear that drawing up and just start over. So it was. I also just grew as a visual artist by having to try and master charcoal as a medium. So that's a plus for me too.
Well, you
Yeah.
did a masterful job.
Oh,
Masterful.
thank you.
So, Hedvig, you answered one of my questions. I said, "What is this location? What a crazy place!" And the costume changes, and just the POV. It's really a POV film, point of view, where we are the people that are hounding you while you're trying to write your screenplay. Tell us about your film. Help yourself.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a film nerd. I've loved film since I was tiny, since I discovered the TV and whatever was on, because I'm Swedish. I grew up in Sweden. We had two
Mm.
TV channels, and they would, do reruns of old films, black and whites, or like MGM musicals. And of course, when you don't have the intellectual capacity to understand the stories, you see the images first, right? So I've always loved cinema for the images, and this is the kind of cinema that I'm attracted to. And so when I wanted to tell this story, it was very important for me to use costumes and the set design and everything, just to make it like these films that I love and have been inspired by throughout my life. So but it used to be my flat, and all my interiors I do, because I do that as a creative outlet as well.
Wow.
So it was easy, I knew it. But that was really just the start of it, and then I wanted to tell the story using this space, feeling it, trying to change the viewpoint a bit. In the beginning, I wanted the audience to feel that she's a bit of a victim. She's, being harassed by these strangers coming to the door, constantly interrupting her. And then you sort of understand that she's probably not as innocent as we think in the beginning. So there's a twist there. But it was important for me. I started, as I said, from this very sort of like superficial point of view, where I wanted the film to look a certain way. I wanted to, to use a lot of different camera angles, and, cinematography was important. But then when you develop the writing and the story, you sort of dig deeper, and it becomes a much more personal story, where the core of it becomes really important. Who is this woman, and why do I actually want to tell this story?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really, I think it's really difficult to direct yourself. And I think I'm going to ask that of Hannah as well, because you're in the film and you're directing the film at the same time. And you're not really sure what you look like when that you have to go back and see what you look like. I think with the digital age, you can do that pretty quickly. But, it must have been challenging because, oh, I don't like that. But you can always redo it. I think with the digital film, you can have so many takes, and go forward. But I was just struck with the whole doppelganger idea. And, I thought, well, are these people really there, or is she imagining them? But we won't tell the audience what is real and what is not real yet. You'll have to come and see the movie to figure that out. Thank you so much. Well, the movie Sylvia is really an important film, again, with the focus maybe on animals, relationships, and Hannah, you play the lead, and you're just about to sign the divorce papers, and you're at a bar, and it's very much a chamber film. It's very self-enclosed, with one exception. Tell us about the process of making the film. Besides the iterations we understand, were there any other things that you changed when it went from the first draft or the first version to the second version?
Um, it was more like this is my first short, and
Mhm.
the biggest thing is that the first one was done for $2,500,
Wow.
and I just couldn't get it done the way I wanted to.
Mhm.
So the second one, all in, was a little over 16.
Wow.
And honestly, to to fund that, I moved home for a year and worked my little tuchus off. And and so, I had to wait a whole nother year just to shoot it, and then post-production, it takes a village. And so basically the biggest thing was um I wanted to use a lot of the same team, but they were not available. And I brought more people on,
Mm.
um, just, who I trusted, and whose minds I really like, just, to hopefully come together with mine. But Bill, I loved what you were saying about loneliness and what did loneliness give me? I this that was like the main thing I ruminated on for this short as well, where, during the pandemic was the first time I was living alone. And, I was nannying for a family who had a sick family member. And so I really limited my outside interactions, even, when people had vaccines and all that. And I was just like living alone, just me and my cat. And there were just days where I was like, okay, like looking at my cat Tony and being like, it's kind of you and me, guy. Um, so yeah. So what did loneliness give me? I mean, an imagination, but and that's good.
You learn so much about yourself during the pandemic. I actually we're showing a wonderful film that you guys should check out. If you can't, you're welcome to come to any of the in-person screenings. They're, free. We used to give passes for the online version as well, but it got so prohibitively expensive because you have to pay for every stream that we unfortunately eliminated that. But if you're interested, I can provide you a link so you can check out The Storm and the Boats, which is a documentary about New Jersey residents in the first year of the pandemic. I mean, it's a brilliant film.
Yeah, I would
And
love to
if
see
you're
it.
interested, we can check that out. And folks, you absolutely should come to that one too. But I loved all of your films. I think that they did so many different things. And yet the loneliness aspect, I think, was something that you definitely synced in on. The loneliness of raising a family and, wondering what's going to come next. The loneliness of a young boy trying to figure out, how to make their way in life. The loneliness of a writer is trying to figure out what the next line is going to be. And then obviously the loneliness of no longer being with your partner and having to find another way. And so I applaud all of you. I think now I'd like to ask you guys ask each other questions in any order you like. If whoever would like to jump in first, ask one of the other filmmakers or all the other filmmakers a question. We have time to do that a few times. So,
Yeah,
anybody?
I'll jump in. Hannah, I love so much about your film. I loved the dance sequence
Yeah.
in particular, and I was wondering sort of how that came about in that moment for you, and what that felt like being the director and the actor and the dancer all at the same time, and how you sort of, you know, managed that sequence with yourself.
Yeah, so on the day, Zeke really was the director. I was like, I'm acting. And I met him in an acting class. So I was like, I know, I know you got this performance wise. And I was a fan of a short he had made. And I was like, you got this visually. And then I really did a lot of post-production and pre-production. So, and when you are directing yourself, I find it's just you need either a co-director or a creative producer on set because me personally, I'm not in a place where I can be like fully have my head and like have all the hats. Um, but the dance sequence, when we wrote it, we were like, and then she just gets up and dances.
Hmm.
And
Like a
and
Shakespeare stage
A
direction.
dance of freedom, a dance of
yeah, and
freedom.
there's also honestly this moment in Twin Peaks where Audrey gets up from the
Yeah.
diner and she just kind of like
Yeah, yeah.
dances and we were like, hell yeah. So we had the composer of the film, my friend Will Sedgerstrom, he did an amazing job, but my friend Sarah Grace White, who's also an amazing singer-songwriter, she made Sylvia's theme, and then me um and my friend Emma Passero, we choreographed this moment, and we really love Fosse and jazz, and so it was just a little
Hmm.
bit pulled from that. My favorite movie is Cabaret, and also All That Jazz. All That Jazz might be the best movie of all time. So it was really just an expression of like, it's just catharsis. Like when I'm having a really shitty time, I just, excuse me.
That's
I
okay.
I you dance it out, and I feel better, and I also feel like more clear in my head. And it's a solo thing you can do, as
Right.
therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind
Yeah.
of like drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Other questions to each other? We have time for maybe one or two more.
Phil, I have a question for you. And Hannah, I definitely got the Twin Peaks vibe. I like wrote it in my notes. I was like, I had that kind of come up when I was watching your film. Phil, for yours, I wanted to know more about what your next project is. Do you have anything on the horizon next? And would you want
Yeah.
that same, type of animation? I'm an art teacher by trade, so I'm very interested in kind of that animation process. I know I just showed my students some work by William Kentridge, so that kind of
He was
like
a big influence.
of your
Yeah.
work,
For
definitely.
Crowboy. Yeah. Yeah, actually, about a couple of years ago, I approached a friend of mine who's a clinical psychologist that runs the Emotion Development Lab at Penn State. And we launched a research project to see if we could sort of measure the impact of drawing as a form of meditation as an intervention for anxiety and
Wow.
depression. And we've gotten 3 grants. And then most recently, we got one of the Renee Fleming Neuro Arts Awards
Oh,
to do the next level of our study. We do in the clinical setting, we measure heart rate, breath rate, and now we've added a headband and we're doing brainwave activity. And the data is significantly impressive. And we're about to go for a rather large NIH grant to try and scale up the study and get the results of this out there. There's a lot of research on the value of the arts to mental well-being and to health. There wasn't a lot on drawing as a specific kind of act.
mm,
So, yeah, so we're continuing that. And as a result of that, I started a series of drawings that look at the relationship between pain and mental health. There's a significant body of research that looks at the kind of circular trap that people become trapped in with mental health issues and physical pain. And so I now have about 100 or so drawings and have started building the narrative around that. And we're looking at, how that might mix with the research project as a film similar to yours that looks at science and art and, nature simultaneously. So that's kind of the next project. And if we get the NIH grant, which I'm fairly confident about, that'll give us the resources we need to start really thinking about the film. Yeah. So thanks for asking. I appreciate that.
That's amazing. That's really exciting. Can't wait to hear about it.
Thank you.
that's the other great thing about these kind of panels where, you guys are all different areas. You might be able to come to the screening, you might not. But if you do come, this way you've already kind of connected, and it's a wonderful way for filmmakers to kind of connect. Since our festival is weird, it's spread out on weekends over a month, and it's not like 2 days and everybody converges, because I just found when I was starting to do this program that can I get people to come to see an Iranian film at 12 noon on a Monday in New Brunswick? forget about it. It's just the bedroom community. We are a university community, but it's still suburban New Jersey, and it's not where you have millions of people that are interested in different cultures that converge, you know. So that was thrown out the window. So we stretched it out over the course of many weekends, and that means that there's not that much interaction as much as I would like amongst the filmmakers. But these Zooms definitely help. So. I'd like to go ahead, Hannah. We have
I
time for
just
one
had
more.
a question for Hedvig, which is, I just, your film was so interesting stylistically, and I was wondering, I mean, we talked about the location, but the costuming and because I was like, there was a part of me, honestly, I was like, is she, she's wearing a wig. I'm Jewish, and I was like, is she Orthodox Jewish? But then I was like, no, she's being someone else for the moment. If I mean, that's how I interpreted it. Um, and so I was just wondering kind of about yeah, the costuming and stylistically how you're influenced.
I thought it was funny. Thank you for the question, Hannah. I thought it was funny that because our films are quite similar, there's a lot of similar cinema tropes. And today we're sitting with both a red background and, it's funny, right? These sort of things. No, but I really wanted, in the beginning when I wrote the story, I was very focused on telling the story in sort of different sections, and the color scheme was going to change slightly. I don't know if it's so obvious in the end, but I wanted the story to be sort of like a bit beige in the beginning. She enters the flat in this sort of like, it's all beige and a bit the normal world. And then she comes into this sort of like strangeness, and she wears this, I found this dress that came in two different color schemes. It's
Yeah.
beige and black. And then
Yeah.
she wears the version that's green and pink, I think it is.
Yeah.
In a scene, but there's no explanation. And that's actually a thing that I saw Peter Greenaway do in a film a long time ago that I loved. The cook, the thief, his wife, and her lover. Helen Mirren is changing these
Yeah.
dresses, and just amazing things like that. And I love, you have all these images in your head, all the films you've seen throughout your life, and they just like pop up. You don't even know where you got them from, but there's things you want to do. And then I sort of wanted to use the colors green and red, pink. That the pink and red would symbolize, the sort of the love that she feels for her child, whereas the green, where she wears the green dress, is a different feeling, And then the day after, when she sort of lets go and she's free, she's wearing blue. It's more sort of a coming back to normality. She can let go of that. But and the wig, was a way of I think for me it was easier also for me to do the acting with the wig on and then get into the character,
That makes sense. I love that.
Yeah.
taking it off. But I think it's, costumes are amazing, and I think it's, if you have the possibility, I think it's an amazing and important part of filmmaking too, And so I really wanted it to be really part of it, of the film, and who she is as a character, and when she's pretending to be, someone else, or, how she uses the clothes for this.
Yeah.
She's then released by wearing other clothes,
Well,
It's
you
just
guys
too
have mentioned
perfect.
you've mentioned two of my favorite filmmakers, David Lynch and Peter Greenaway. I teach both of them, so it's just kind of a happy accident. But the thing is that the only film that I was a judge on was on Crowboy. I did not see your films until after the jury selected them, and these films, we don't show any crap. We show really good films, excellent films from all over. And I'd like to take the opportunity to show folks how they can purchase tickets since we're at the end of our panel. Let's see here. So normally folks would go to this website, which is our njfilmfest.com. Hopefully you guys can see this. njfilmfest.com. Everything would normally be here at this site, but since the pandemic, we've shifted everything to Eventive, as it just made more logistical sense. But the image behind the text here is the location we'll be screening films at, which is Voorhees Hall. It's, like I said, a block away from the New Brunswick train station, and it's part of the old campus at Rutgers. So once you get here, you just click on current events, which bounces you down one slide, and you absolutely must push this red button. Basic information is here. It's a placeholder. And then once you click on that, then it opens up our Eventive website. And then you're going to see 5 more red buttons to push. Each one of them bears fruit. The first one, I love that cat, by the way, Hannah. I have a cat named Emma that's just kind of like that too. And that's a youngster, though, I can tell. Yeah. Oh, we can't hear you.
She's a kitten and her name is Evie. Sorry, she was making sound.
Evie, wow, that's my actress's name. Well, that's cool. That's a happy accident too. Anyway, so you click on schedule, and this is a very vanilla, old school way of presenting the festival. And you scroll down, and as you scroll down, each red line divides a program, and each program is $15 and general admission for both the in-person and online version. And folks will watch the film during the day online, because your $15 allows you to do that. And then you can come and watch the film in person because your ticket is good for both. So on Saturday, February 1, you can see online for 24 hours and in person at 7 p.m. These are the films that you guys are part of. In some respects, I think Help Yourself, Hedvig's film, is playing on this day. And then you have to work your way down, and Embryo and Crowboy are playing as part of the Storm in the Boats on February 8th. So I screwed up at the beginning. I thought they were all playing on the same day. But I think Sylvia is playing on our first day. There it is. So Sylvia's on opening night. There's another batch of films. I wanted to do something a little bit different and have local films be screened. And every one of these filmmakers has a local connection. Liat Kissos, she's one of my former interns, who's beautiful in this movie, where she's the actor and the director as well. I tried to get her to come, but I think the timing was not good for her. But all of these are really wonderful films that have a local theme or a local connection. And then we have a batch of really great films from all over the world. So once you've done that, you want to click on tickets. And this is where you would actually buy tickets for the actual screening. So if you wanted to buy for Sylvia, you would click here. You would learn more if you want to learn more, or you hit the pre-order button, and that allows you to buy the tickets. If you've never bought tickets at our festival before, you need to register. It takes like 30 seconds. And then you can kind of make your way down to the other ones where we have, I guess that should be here. Embryo is here with Crowboy. And you guys are playing with the Storm in the Boat, so you're going to see it anyway. Bill, if you come, as well as Joy. You guys are all part of this program. And then after you've explored the catalog page, or the tickets page, as we call it, you can go to the Buy All Access page. It's only $100. So if you're going to see more than half of what we offer, it's definitely worth it because you'll save money. And then if you want to explore the site as well, you can go to Menu, go back to Welcome, and hit Film Guide. And each one of the films are listed individually. So you can click on each one of them and get more information about them that way if you choose to. We are doing another concert. We started doing audiovisual concerts. But if you're on the welcome page, you want to scroll down to the bottom and you want to make sure you register your vehicle. You can park for free in the university lots. You just have to register your car. You can also get driving directions and check out our sponsors and stuff on the welcome page. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and say thank you to you guys for participating in this. Wow, it's almost 45 minutes. That's a long one. That's good. So I will be looking forward to checking you guys out in person, or we will be still communicating with you via email. But I want to thank you all for participating in this panel, and we look forward to screening your film.
Thank you. Thank you all. Great to meet you all.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you so much. All right, let's pause record.